It is officially 9 p.m. on the Sunday evening that the YCS just finished, the Las Vegas 3v3, and man, those were some feature matches. Yo, what is going on, you guys? bashtianygo here, and today, guys, well, let me go ahead and get the obvious out the way. Feature matches obviously just ended, as I just stated, for the 3v3 YCS in Las Vegas. We saw a lot of really high level gameplay. We saw some not so much high level gameplay as well, but at the end of the day, when it comes to feature matches, guys, there's a lot of pressure that comes to it. I myself have never been in a feature match, so I know that's the first feature match that I get put on. I promise you, I'm going to normal summon Ash Blossom instead of Snake Eye Ash, and then I'm going to pass turn and get clapped up, and I'm going to get roasted as well, so it is what it is. But I want to go ahead and say huge kudos to everyone who was on stream at this YCS, man. They gave us a show for sure. So I want to go ahead and talk to you guys real quick about the key takeaways that I got. I think it's pretty personally from this previous weekend's YCS. At the time that you guys seeing, it'll be the previous weekends. For me currently, it is still the same weekend as it is, like I said, on a Sunday. But I want to go ahead and take you guys through my thought process, right? So what it is that we're seeing, we're gonna go ahead and take out the obvious one first, right? Which is obviously right now at this point we are obviously in a tier 0 format. Regardless of your definition of what an actual tier 0 format is, I think we can all safely agree that with the UDS finals, the regional finishes, this YCS, the Costa Rica YCS, Snake Eye engine and Snake Eye as a deck itself is clearly a tier 0 engine and a tier 0 deck. It needs to be respected as such. We can say this safely, specifically after this YCS, with 16 teams essentially getting into the obviously the top 16, right? It makes sense. Top 16 teams in top 16. Only 3 of those decks within those top 16 were not Snake Eye or Fire King variants. Well, if you're a Fire King variant, you are a Snake Eye variant, and vice versa, whatever it might be. So that is really alarming, guys. I think the 3 other ones were like Voiceless Voice. I think one was like Fluandries and one Cashtira, which I think are like the 3 tier 1.5 if you want to call them decks, because really when it comes to this point, guys, Snake Eyes and Snake Eyes Fire King are so far above the rest when it comes to overall viability, grind game, just overall just the craziness that the overall deck can do. I think Despio is actually up there as well, maybe 1 or 2 slots, but regardless, guys, the rest of the players in the top 16 were of course representing this deck, and rightfully so. It's obviously very strong, and I said all this in last week's video when I said what did we learn from the previous UDS, so I'm not gonna go too in-depth into it, but just so that you guys know, like, this deck is absolutely crazy. I'm not saying that you have to of course play this deck in order to win, but it obviously is going to generate you the most amount of advantage. Also, if you guys have not seen a most recent deck profile I did, if you guys want to play a budget version of it, I did just upload a super heavy samurai version of it, in which case I say realistically the deck does carry quite a bit, even if you do not entirely know what you're doing. And once you actually learn the lines, see the lines, if you will, of your pack, master the deck itself, then you can become extremely dangerous with that deck. Aside from the obvious, of course, there, guys, I want to go ahead and mention I did a poll on the right before the YCS or during the YCS, where it might be. In this poll, I wanted to go ahead and reach out to you guys directly to find out what you guys thought was the better Floodgate, whether it was anti-spell fragrance or it was summon limit. And realistically, just by looking at the way that it performed, I can very comfortably say that summon limit is by far the better Floodgate in this scenario, regardless of what you're playing. Even if you are playing Snake Eye, even if you are playing Fire King, even if you are playing Vanadium, summon limit is a crazy card that pretty much says stop whatever you're doing if you are going up against Snake Eyes Fire King, which again, these are the decks that you're going to have to go up against and compare your deck to when you guys are deck building, because it is going to be the most represented deck. It's going to be the most powerful deck. It's something that we just naturally are going to have to adjust to. Now, it's not a negative thing, of course. We've been through multiple months already where it was pretty much just free reign. Anyone can top with whatever. Mekanko was out here doing crazy shenanigans and whatnot, and then we got Ubel in feature matches now, but this is neither here nor there, guys. So the reason why I want to go ahead and emphasize on Summon Limit as well is because with an anti-spell fragrance, realistically, it does absolutely nothing essentially to the Snake Eyes engine. You can still go full combo, full board. It just may be a little bit less convenient for them, a little bit less easy for them, but they can still do their thing. However, if you guys are going to go the summon limit route, you just go summon limit the second that they either summon the Poplar or activate the Snake Eye Ash effect in order to go ahead and summon a third monster, whether it be the Flamburst Dragon or whatever it might be. So you have additional options for you, or you wait for them to activate the OSS, in which case they have already summoned twice, in which case they cannot resolve that additional summon. So it is really, really good. It really just depends on how you want to maximize it, depending on, of course, the game state that you are currently in. But Summon Limit just is a crazy card. You can use it reactively instead of preemptively with anti-spell fragrance, so your opponent doesn't see it coming until it's already too late, which I think is a really great way to go ahead and maximize the value of this card. Next thing I want to go ahead and point out, guys, is that early on in the feature matches, if you go back to day 1, there was like no Snake Eyes Fire King in sight at all, right? And that was specifically addressed by the commentator, if I'm not mistaken, Billy Break. Did mention that they wanted to show off other decks out there. For example, like Voiceless Voice, they showcased quite a bit in the earlier rounds. They could showcase like 3 different feature matches of Voiceless Voice. So if I remember correctly, Billy Break was saying that they understood that Snake Eyes Fire King was, of course, going to be in the top feature matches, so they want to go ahead and show off other decks, clearly stating Voiceless Voice is not the second best deck of the format. So I want to go ahead and say that right out. I know that this has been the speculation. My personal opinion is I really don't think there is a second best deck of the format. It is, again, going back to my first point, right, they kind of all lead back to one another. It's Snake Eyes Fire King, you know, a 1A, 1B, and then it's 1.5. It's tier 0, there's no tier 1, tier 1.5, and then you have Despia, Flu, Cash, and then Voiceless Voice, right? So and that's the issue I saw with Voiceless Voice, is that every single time, and again, Billy Ray commented on this as well, is that every time you saw this deck attempt to play, even when going first, you just saw it brick quite often. I'm pretty sure it was every time that Voiceless Voice was on feature, you saw it brick. And that's something that's really concerning of the deck. Now, of course, you'll probably be able to resolve this. I believe it gets more support in Legacy of Destruction as well, so we do have that to look forward to in the event you are looking forward to the Voiceless Voice strategy. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad deck by any means, but I obviously want to emphasize that when a deck is just doesn't have the consistency, and it's not even close to what the tier 0 deck is, there's just it's a really a night and day difference, right? So I just want to go ahead and point that out, of course. Next thing I want to go ahead and talk about, guys, I know I like to be more the optimistic fellow on the YouTube page. I feel like I'm very optimistic about a lot of things. I like to point out more positive spins on things, and something I do need to address is, and I know I don't play perfectly, I know you guys roast me in the comments every time I upload like a Logos live duel, and I appreciate that because you guys are helping me become a better player and a better duelist as well, which then helps me provide hopefully better content for you guys in the near future. However, when it comes to a YCS, guys, it's not locals. Okay, locals, there's no judge sitting next to me watching my every play. Okay, it's me and my opponent and a bunch of people around us having fun, either playing Pokemon or Digimon or whatever, right? This is a strictly Yu-Gi-Oh event. You have judges right next to you watching your every single play. If I'm not mistaken, you have one judge watching you and one judge watching your opponents. So there is no excuse, in my personal opinion. Again, in my opinion, there's no excuse for this amount of illegal activations, misplacement of cards, and there's just so much evidence of this shown throughout this past weekend. It's really disappointing. It's disappointing because obviously we want to tune into these events. You guys want to go ahead and tune into them. I know, and tune into either the live stream or you watch my my individual uploads of each round. because you guys want to see specific matchups. You guys want to see if you guys do play yugioh. You most likely clicked on the yugioh deck in the yugioh feature match just so you guys can understand how a high level player plays that deck. And when you're seeing a lot of miscues, whether it's from the judges or the players themselves, and I'm not saying it's intentional, it could just be entirely accidental, but unfortunately some mistakes are irreversible, and that's something that we have to understand. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of these things are just not getting caught until it's too late. Whether it is, for example, in the yugioh feature match where he summons, I believe he summons the yugioh fusion, but he summons it in the right hand side of the main monster zone. His opponent goes to read the card, places the card back, but places the card back under the extra monster zone. That is a big difference, okay? That's a big difference because the player, Oscar, at this time, I had the features pulled up in front of me, so right, Oscar at the time, who was trying to play around Relinquished Anima, as anyone would, because Relinquished Anima is a very popular card in the current format. So you put it in the main monster zone in a play that is not directly under it, and then when it's placed back, right, but it's not caught. It's not caught at all. And then when I believe it was Michelle goes to your Relinquished Anima route, that is when it gets called like, hey, this card wasn't here, and then it becomes a very, very confusing match. There's also times where what's it called? I believe it was a cashier player was activating Triple Tactics Talents to draw cards after activating Pot of Prosperity, which you guys have caught me on for, and I understand I make mistakes, but like I said, I'm at locals. I'm only uploading locals level duels, you know. These, with judges watching you, these things should not happen. And the reason why that one specifically frustrates me as well is because this also allowed, right, not only that, right, I believe it was a Cashier Theosis that was also activated, and they summoned out the same attribute. It was a Cashier Theosis targeting a Cashier Scareclaw, and then a Fenrir was summoned, which is the same attribute. Cashier Theosis says you had to summon one of a different attribute, and because a Fenrir was summoned accidentally, right, and was left on the field, the opponent activated Super Polymerization in response, because both are obviously Earth type monsters. I don't know the types of what they are right off the top of my head, but if Mud Dragon or Garura, either one takes care of it, right? But then the judges realize, oh wait, Theosis has to be, you know, this same attribute, and the fact that it reveals, and it could be seen as soft cheating, it could be seen as, oh, just a slight misplay or mishap, right? And like, at the end of the day, you're on a feature match, there's a lot of pressure and everything, there's a lot of things weighing on you, but these types of mistakes can't happen because it's also revealing a lot from your opponent. And then the individual who was playing this deck and the cashier strategy was able to then, of course, play immediately around it by making, I think it was Dark Arm Dragon, popping both back row. Both happened to be Super Polymerizations, which was wild. But that's a game-changing interaction, and I just feel like the penalties for certain things are just not where they should be. For example, also in the finals, right, you saw that Team Sam started off with a game 1 loss, and I said, well, that's weird, because I think only 2 or 3 minutes had gone by and I didn't know why he already had a loss. I mean, unless he just scooped it up and tried to keep going, but that's just not something I thought. And then Tombox, I believe it was, for MST.TV, stated something about him getting a game loss, and allegedly, I didn't hear it myself, of course, this is what I'm seeing a lot of. Apparently he goes penalized for saying a curse word right on stream, and he got a game 1 loss because of it. And that seems what I'm trying to say, guys, is the violations for the mistakes don't seem just, right? So either we need to raise them for certain things, right, like for example revealing game states, right, because of your mistake, right, or right, lower them for things that aren't gameplay centric. Now I understand if individual, like if someone was being vulgar towards somebody else or aggressive or whatever it might be, then that would lead to either a game loss or disqualification. However, expressing your emotions in a high stress environment, for example in a sports environment, let's go ahead and take it that way, it's seen as like that's okay. Now I understand Yu-Gi-Oh is more of a kids game, and we could go on and on about this. We can go ahead and talk about this forever. I see and understand both points of views, but I just want a little bit better adjustments for what the rulings are, what the punishments are as well, and that's just something I feel like needs to get fixed and addressed ASAP. So in brief summary, guys, I just want to go ahead and I guess wrap all my final thoughts. Obviously, tier 0 format by far. Voiceless Voice bricked quite a bit on stream, which makes me to believe it is not the second best deck of the format, as it is led to believe by some individuals. As far as a tier list goes, if you just want my real quick honest opinion, like I said, Snake Eyes, Fire King, 1A, 1B. And then of course you have tier 1.5 is going to be Flu, Despia, Cash, and then Voiceless Voice as your second tier, and then anything else goes strictly under. If you guys want to see my exact ratings, just let me know in the comment section down below. Go ahead and get it out to you guys. But then again, my last thought is just I feel like the head judge just needs to be at the feature match table. Maybe we need 2 head judges, right? Or maybe we need a dedicated head judge specifically for the feature match table. I don't know, guys. I just feel like it needs to get fixed. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Honestly, overall, I loved this YCS. I think it was a lot of fun. I think the interactions between the players and interactions between their own teams were extremely entertaining and very, very, very educational as well. I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like I am a better duelist by just watching all this stuff, and some of the lines that these guys went through, especially Hani and obviously Pac, obviously on stream, it was absolutely just crazy to go ahead and see. So if you guys have not seen those, make sure you guys check them out. I have, of course, the full playlist already uploaded on the channel. Right now I'm rambling, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.